the obsolete fighter that broke Hitler's Luftwaffe. In early 1940, German intelligence scoffed at the Hawker Hurricane, dismissing it with the sneer "Techden altmodisch," technically outdated. They laughed at its fabric wings, ridiculed it as a flying barn door, and declared it a relic compared to the sleek modern Bf 109. To Berlin's analysts, the Spitfire was the only British machine worth fearing. The Hurricane, an antique fit only for scrap. That arrogance was about to cost them dearly. Because while the world obsessed over the glamorous Spitfire, the skies over Britain were filling with something else. Hundreds of Hurricanes, outnumbering Spitfires 2-1. When the Luftwaffe came for England, it wasn't the poster child they had to fear. It was the obsolete fighter they had mocked. One that would turn bomber streams into funeral pyres and force German command into desperate panic tactics. Inside the German delusion, in Berlin's air ministry, confidence was sky high. Technical reports wrote off the Hurricane as a throwback fabric, wood, slower speed, rifle-caliber guns that couldn't possibly bring down modern aircraft. One 1939 memo flatly declared it inferior, a stopgap swarming in numbers but tactically useless. Cartoons and Luftwaffe magazines mocked it as a lumbering patchwork, a joke with wings. Crews were briefed to fear Spitfires. Hurricanes, they were told, would be easy prey. But hidden in every report was a quiet warning. The Hurricane formed the backbone of fighter command. Numbers mattered, and Britain had them in spades. Spitfire glamour, Hurricane reality. The press adored the Spitfire. Sleek, fast, and photogenic. RAF propaganda leaned hard into this image, plastering headlines with elliptical wings and flawless silhouettes. Pilots dreamed of Spitfires. The public believed the Spitfire alone shielded Britain, but the math was merciless. By July 1940, of 640 operational fighters, over 400 were Hurricanes. They weren't pretty, but they rolled off assembly lines quickly, could be repaired in hours, and returned to battle, while Spitfires sat in workshops. The truth was simple. Spitfires dazzled. Hurricanes defended. Different roles, deadly balance. The division of labor was brutal. Spitfires hunted the Bf 109 seconds, dueling Germany's best at altitude. Hurricanes went for the bombers, the real killers of cities and airfields. Slower than the Spitfire, yes, but capable of tighter turns at low speed, with 8 Brownings that shredded engines and ignited fuel tanks. For new pilots, the Hurricane was a godsend. Forgiving, steady, and almost unstallable, it gave rookies a fighting chance in a war where most measured survival in weeks. The Spitfire got the headlines. The Hurricane got the kills. The 18th of August, the hardest day. On the 18th of August, 1940, the Luftwaffe hurled wave after wave of Heinkels, Dorniers, and Ju 88 seconds towards southern England. Their target? RAF bases at Kenley and Biggin Hill. Hurricanes roared to meet them. Leaders like H.A. Fenton and John Sample drove their squadrons straight into the bomber streams. 64 barrels per section spat fire into engines and fuel tanks. The result? Chaos. Tight formations broke apart. Bombers collided mid-air. Others spiraled down, wings sheared away, crews bailing out into burning skies. By nightfall, the Luftwaffe had lost 69 aircraft, nearly half of them bombers. 2/3 of those kills came from the Hurricane, the very machine German intelligence had dismissed as obsolete. The flying barn door had just torn the pride of Hitler's Air Force to pieces. Britain's workhorse Hurricane airfields were filled with kids barely out of training. Some had less than 12 hours of combat experience. For them, the Hurricane was survival itself. Its steel frame could take punishment. Holes from cannon shells were patched with canvas and glue. Ground crews bragged they could repair one in minutes, swapping wings or tails overnight with nothing more than hammers and sweat. One pilot summed it up perfectly. "I could throw my Hurricane into a turn and trust it would not stall. It was not elegant, it was not fast, but it was indestructible." The enemy's bitter awakening captured Hurricanes were shipped to Germany's Reckland Test Center. Engineers expected junk. Instead, they were unsettled. The Hurricane was stable, forgiving, and most shocking of all, hard to kill. Reports warned only concentrated fire into the engine could reliably bring one down. Ernst Udet's memo circulated to frontline squadrons. Do not waste ammunition on wings or tail. Aim only for the cowling. The mocking tone vanished. The obsolete fighter had earned respect the hard way through German blood. Fear in the cockpit. As raids dragged on, Luftwaffe crews stopped laughing. Diaries recovered from downed bombers tell of dread before missions, of men whispering that hurricanes were death traps in disguise. One captured gunner described the horror. They came straight through us. Not graceful like the Spitfire, but brutal. They just kept coming. Within bomber units, the Spitfire was still respected a duelist machine, but the name that haunted German crews was the Hurricane. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't noble. It was relentless. Adolf Galland himself, Germany's star ace, later admitted, Spitfire was a thoroughbred. The Hurricane, you could never quite kill them all. The relentless workhorse. By autumn, Luftwaffe morale was crumbling. The myth of easy victory had collapsed. Every mission over England felt like a gamble. And the Hurricane, written off as outdated junk, was the machine that broke Hitler's momentum. On the infamous Hardest Day, it accounted for the majority of German bomber losses. In the months that followed, it shredded wave after wave until the Luftwaffe scaled back daylight raids in defeat. What German intelligence dismissed as laughable had become the very weapon that denied them the skies. The cost of arrogance. The Hurricane's legacy is not glamour, but grit. It proved that arrogance can blind even the most powerful war machine. Berlin's mistake wasn't technical, it was psychological. They underestimated resilience, dismissed simplicity, and ignored the power of numbers. That error cost them hundreds of bombers, thousands of crew, and, ultimately, their dream of crushing Britain from the air. History remembers the Spitfire as the symbol of victory. But the truth is sharper, and perhaps more uncomfortable. It was the obsolete Hurricane,